Yeah. Um, I think we can begin, Geeta, shall we?
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Okay. A very good evening to all of you. People are still joining us. Yeah, so very happy to introduce and welcome. I'll have to. Yeah, I'm just muting everyone. There's a lot of background noise, so I'm just muting everyone. Yeah. So I'm very happy to welcome and introduce Dr. Vijay Boratti. Vijay, good friend, fellow traveler on many a journey, academic and otherwise. I've been asking him for a while now to introduce a film for us for Talking Films Online. And finally, he has obliged in the 11th month, so to speak, of the existence of TFO. Dr. Vijay Poratti, he has many accomplishments to his credit, and I have already circulated the elaborate bio note of Vijay Poratti. I won't go into many details over here because I'm sure the film requires a lot of discussion, and I'm sure Vijay Boratti's initial conversation on the film will also be very useful and interesting. So let me begin by um, saying that Dr. Vijay Kumar Boratti teaches English in University Evening College, University of Mysore. So he's taught for many years in a number of institutions. He has been a recipient of the Charles Wallace Fellowship. He has published widely in a number of national, international journals of repute. He writes and publishes in English and Kannada. He's also a creative writer, theater director. So he wears many hats. And today we will see him, talk about not only the film but also probably tell us why he suggested this film for the group. Welcome, Vijay, and over to you.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Thank you, Nikhila, for that generous introduction of me. First of all, I would like to wish you on May Day, and thanks for inviting me to this forum. In fact, as Nikhila told me and told you, she has been persuading me to be part of this forum, online forum. But it was my laziness rather than indifference that prevented me from being part of this. So I accept it honestly that it was my laziness and nothing else. Okay, coming to the main part of this gathering online. First of all, I would like to appreciate this forum because if I am right, all of you, I mean, this online forum has given scope for all kinds of movies for discussion. And I'm sure this forum has not made any kind of hierarchy or any kind of partisan in terms of choosing speakers, in terms of choosing films, like the distinctions that we have, like alternative film or offbeat film or serious movies or commercial movies. So in that way, this forum, online forum, is quite flexible, not rigid, and the open-minded in terms of accepting all kinds of movies and discussions on that. So I really appreciate the online talking film online group for this flexible and open-minded gesture. Today I'm going to speak on a Telugu movie, not Kannada, uh, because I chose this movie because I had written a small piece on this movie as soon as I watched it, as soon as I read a few reviews of the movie in newspapers and websites. And I'm going to make a small presentation, and this presentation is out of my writing on this movie. And I chose this movie because primarily it was a box office hit, and uh, and the second reason why I chose this movie is to, I mean, understand what kind of reviews appeared in newspapers and websites, and what actually these reviews did not focus on this movie, did not focus. Some of the points that are there in the movie are not focused by these reviews, and I think those which are the points which are missed by the reviews in newspapers and website are the points that I'm going to speak, because this movie, what struck me about this movie is the kind of the gender or the kind of masculinity that it constructs throughout the movie. I'm going to speak on the issue of masculinity and femininity as we see in this movie, as reproduced in this movie. Uh, so first of all, I would like to begin with a point, what kind of impression that this movie gives us at first instance. I hope most of you have watched this movie, Uppena, which literally, I mean, which dictionary meaning of this title is high tide, as you know already. So as we watch this movie, especially in the beginning, the first half of the movie, we get an impression that it's quite a deviant movie. It is non-conformist. It is slightly better than or different from other Telugu commercial movies. For instance, we have scenes like Christians and Hindus worshipping at dargahs, a Christian lower caste youth loving upper caste, upper class girl, and the vice versa is also true. And a classroom lecture on a male genital in a women's college. And more than that, we also get an impression that uh, the theme of love in the movie and its capacity to overcome excessive obsession with patriarchal notion of sex and repressive casteism. So all these points, all these scenes in the movie give us an impression that the film seems to be unconventional, forward-looking, very progressive, at a time when India is completely polarized, and some of the views that the majoritarian people express seem to be constricted and narrow, especially with regard to issues of religion and caste. So at a time when we witness such constricted and narrow views on religion and caste, here is a film which tries to give us an impression that it is above that, and it's trying to break the chain of narrow-mindedness that we have on these issues. So we get an impression that Uppena dares to tread very unconventional and unorthodoxical, non-conformist approach to certain burning issues that we witness, we experience in India. Uh, and the film, by having these plot sequences in these sequences will prove a long way that it is really welcome. It's really welcome movie. And in fact, if you contextualize the movie in the Telugu film industry, whatever the small knowledge that I have about Telugu film industry, what structures this film industry is majoritarianism. And not only that, it is supplemented by a patriarchal notion of femininity, and the industry seems to be quite, I mean, completely gendered one. Uh, as I said just now, Upena tries to or seems to take a very deviant route. It seems to making an attempt to break hegemonic and dominant notion of sexual relationship. Not only that, it also tries to moralize that it is love and belongingness, lost longing, belongingness, which matter and which are necessary for our life to, I mean, for happy and peaceful life. And here, there is another dimension that the film tries to project, that is the theme of love. The theme of love runs throughout the film. It's like the Telugu film adapting a usual formula of a boy chasing girl and going through lots of ordeals and winning her heart, etc. But one of the important points that I noticed in the movie is the healing power that love has in the movie. That is, its power to break a chain of casteism and class hierarchy. And as I said, it also tries to challenge the notion of sexuality, masculinity, etc. At a time when movement of third gender and asexuals are trying to interrogate a dominant phallocentrism, in this context, in the context of these kinds of movements, the film uh, uh, tries to, I mean, echoes an element of this movement, and it tries to elevate man-woman relationship, and it is done by questioning narrow definition of penetrative or mainstream sex or reproduction phenomena, and the usual notion of family. In fact, if you go through some of the reviews on this movie in some newspapers like Times of India, it is the one of the elements that is highlighted in such reviews is how the film tries to interrogate masculinity. I'll just read I quote one or two lines from this review so that we'll get an idea how the film reviews have tried to understand the film from different point of view. So I'll quote from the Times of India. What is also not expected is that in a film industry that celebrates toxic masculinity, there comes along a director that questions what masculinity truly is. So this review seems to be appreciative of the movie because it tries to, it doesn't try to celebrate masculinity, which is dominantly seen in most of the Telugu, Kannada movies, including some movies in almost in all language films of India. So this is the theme of masculinity is the point which I'm going to speak a lot in my course of presentation. And I also try to understand that can I say, can I look at the film from different point of view? Are my views in agreement with the views or reviews expressed in the newspapers or written about in websites. The reviews that I have come across about this movie, they seem to be completely in admiration of the of this movie, because it tries to launch a scathing attack on cruelty of what we call Maryade Hatya, which is Paravu Hatya in Telugu. And the film tries to criticize this kind of killing, and it also tries to criticize caste feelings on the part of the what we call the villain of the movie, and it also tries to go beyond class divisions, which are actually characteristic of socio-economic life of contemporary India. And these reviews also go a long way in admiring the film for its view, for its take on the idea of love, sex, and masculinity. In fact, to quote from first post, this admiration takes a different turn in this uh, review. So I quote a few lines from first post, and then I go to the next part of my presentation, which I'm going to read actually. So I am quoting from first post. The real drama, however, is on a deeper level when it takes a deep dive into how society defines masculinity and virility. Upena asks us if that is the only thing that matters in a man's life. For Rayanam, it is the only means to continue the caste hierarchy the way he sees it, and for Asi, it's all about keeping Sangeeta happy. But it is Sangeeta's perspective that is more interesting. All she wants is to be with someone who respects her and makes her feel loved. When people around her are all interested in only one thing, that is her womb and her body. So these are some of the glimpses of reviews that we find about this movie. Now, let me go to the second part of my presentation, which is plot of the movie. I'm not going to speak to you. I'm going to read the plot of the movie so that I'll be clear, and I'll lead you to the next part of my presentation later. I'm sure those who have missed the film, who have not watched it, this plot structure of the movie will help what I'm going to say in the next part. Upena is the story of two characters, Asi and Sangeeta. She's also known as Bebamma in the movie, and Asi, the main character in the movie, calls her by this name Bebamma and not by the name of Sangeeta, because he cannot pronounce the name Sangeeta correctly. Asi and Sangeeta are chasing a distant dream of love and union. Like other love story Telugu movies, this film too abides by the formulaic boy loves girl cliche. Caught in the swell of the sea, the two lovers realize that life, unlike their dreams, is harsh, and the walls of patriarchy and casteism are too high to scale. Set in Uppada, a coastal town in Andhra Pradesh, the film follows the lives of Rayanam, acted by Vijay Sethupathi of Tamil film, who wants to build a fishing yard in the region. His daughter Sangeeta, acted by Kriti Shetty, is the apple of his eyes, but he treats her more like a symbol of his pride, dignity, and caste, which has to be protected at all costs. Then there is Asi, acted by Vaishnav Tej, a new entrant into Telugu film industry, a fisherman's son who falls in love with Sangeeta, who after a point of time reciprocates his feelings for her. The rest of this story is about what happens when Asi Bebama's love for each other bears the brunt of Ryanam's fury. Ryanam inflicts the revenge mode on Asi for loving his daughter and by murdering his father. But Ryanam's plans to get Bebama married to his relative get scuttled. Compelled by Bebama in the middle of the movie after skirmishes between fishermen and Ryanam's men, Asi reluctantly takes her away from the coastal village, and both of them settle down in North India for some time, Sikkim to be more specific. Ryanam keeps searching for her everywhere, but in vain. After a few days, Asi and Bebama decide to marry formally. On the day of their marriage, Ryanam's men find Bebama in the railway station waiting for Asi, who had gone to fetch water. They drag her back to her native place. Asi curses himself and feels crestfallen for not protecting Bebama. Back home, Ryanam tries to win Bebama's heart and convince her about protecting and preserving family's dignity and status. When she is unwilling to heed to her father, Ryanam reveals the truth about how he found her in the railway station. It was Asi who calls up Ryanam and lets him know where to find out Bebama. Asi, who had taken the moral responsibility of protecting Bebama, wishes normal within quotes, a normal life for Bebama and sacrifices his love for her future life. At first, Bebama is shell shocked to know this and she does not believe her father. Her deep love for Asi forbids her to suspect him. In a strong reaction to her father, she reveals that she had slept with her beloved. Ryanam is shocked to hear this at first. Later, he reveals that it was he who punished Asi and his father as a revenge for daring to love his daughter. He tells that Asi can no longer be a man, for it was he who cut his genital as a punishment for loving his daughter and asked her to marry his relative, that is his sister's son. Bebama, though taken aback at the cruelty of his father, states very clearly that it hardly mattered if Asi is not in a position to do sex for the rest of her life. She recalls the words of her teacher that a man's protective arm, love, and affection are endearing gifts for any teenaged girl entering married life. Saying this, she goes back to Asi and consoles him, who is now ashamed and diffident in life, that it is love and long-lasting relationship which should matter and not masculinity which lied between two legs of a man. So that's about the plot structure of the movie and the plot sequences also. Now I get back to the mode of speaking to you, addressing the participants here. Newspapers and website reviews are full of appreciation for the film, as I said, for reasons for the reason that the film is non-conforming to dominant phallocentric sex and masculinity, and also for not endorsing them as normal marital life. But in my view, as I did a close reading of the movie or looking at, observing the movie from a different point of view, I found that the reviewers fail to understand how the film traverses through non-conformist approach of questioning masculinity or phallocentrism. If you look at the plot sequences of the movie, they reinforce or what I call reproduce masculinity throughout the film. And it also tries to establish masculinity and the physical strength as prerequisites before accepting man's inability to indulge in sexual relationship, reproduction, and family. So, in other words, film tries to reinforce what Geeta Rajan says, one of the scholars on film studies. She says, I quote her, that the film, these kinds of movies, films try to reinforce stereotypical masculinity and normalized heterosexuality. And to corroborate this point, we have another sequence or scene in the movie wherein we find the friend of Asi supporting his friend and the friend's love for Bebama. If you look at it from another point of view, his friend, it's a kind of, if you observe him, he is a deformed character in the movie, like a deformed character that we see in another movie of Maryade Hatya, which was made in Marathi, Sairat. There also, the friend of the protagonist is also deformed, but he's always there with the friend to support his feelings for his lover and also to support his indirectly heterosexual life. There is another reason why this trope of deformed friend, according to me, in my view, is adopted by such movies, is to accentuate as his handsome and masculine features. And as I said just now, a friend is always there for the protagonist to support his feelings for his beloved and also to support his love for his beloved, and indirectly endorsing or accepting heterosexual relationship is the only kind of relationship that the world should have. Something like that we get an impression in the movie. And another point that I would like to speak about this movie is what are the what kind of impression that we get about Asi here? Why Asi feels the way he does throughout the movie, especially in the second half of the movie. The film tries to establish that it is circumstantial factors which are responsible for what he feels, how he conducts himself in the movie. Like cutting off his genital, social injustice, and class hierarchy. These are all shown to be the circumstantial factors for Asi's behavior in the second half of the movie, wherein we find Asi in a mode of withdrawal, is trying to withdraw himself from his beloved. He is shy, he is diffident, and sense of humiliation and guilt are all bothering him, though he cannot express it openly to his beloved throughout the movie. And it is known Bebama comes to know about the real picture of Asi through his father. Until then, we find Asi feeling some sort of humiliation and guilt and not able to tell real physical condition of his present condition to Bebama. If these circumstantial factors were not there, in other words, otherwise, the film tries to indirectly tell us that Asi is a repository of manhood and masculinity. But because of circumstantial factors, he is feeling down, he is feeling diffident, and he is feeling guilty. Otherwise, he is a model specimen of the hero that we the Telugu film industry has built over several decades through the Telugu movies. We have many corroborating scenes which actually highlight or reinforce, reproduce Asi's masculinity, physical strength, and his courage. Once, as you know, there is a scene in the middle of the movie that Bebama is angry with her mama. She is angry with him because he makes some unwanted, objectionable sexual moves towards her, not only towards her, but also towards her mother. So Bebama feels irritated. She feels that his mama is not a good person, and she complains to her father, asking him to punish the mama. But Rayanam is reluctant to punish him because the mama is relative sister's son. As this happens, these scenes and couple of other scenes in the movie makes Bebama develop a kind of inner wish and desire. The inner wish and desire is that her prospective husband should be in a position to punish anybody who will try to harm her. So she wishes to have a husband who will protect her, who will take care of wrongdoers in her life. And a fight sequence that happens in the movie, probably in the first half of the movie, between Asi and neighboring fishermen, is the scene that we need to notice about Bebama's feelings for Asi and her hostile feeling towards her mama. In this fight sequence, we see the film trying to highlight masculinity, courage of Asi in full form. So this fighting scene between Asi and the neighboring village fishermen exhibits Asi's masculine power, his courage, and his physical strength. If you notice the camera work, how the camera focuses on his running style in slow motion, and the movement of his muscles, movement of his body, and his manly facial gestures, frequent twirling of his mustache. And if you look at mustache as a sign of manhood and dignity, film tries to reproduce the same notion of man's mustache, and twirling of it is also a sign of the gesture that a true man would like to show himself what he is. So these scenes, the camera work and the movement of Asi, all this try to establish that he is masculine and he is a man of virility. And the film also tries to project him as angry young man. He is daring, courageous, ready to take risk for right cause. And when this scene is happening, when the fight scene is happening, we see Asi accidentally giving a blow to Bebama's mama. Witnessing this, Bebama becomes so excited that she falls in love with Asi instantaneously. Very quickly, we see that Bebama is thinking. She thinks that at last she has found a man who can protect her from bad elements and who can love at the same time protect a woman. Another fighting scene in the movie later in the later part of the film proves the same theme of protecting Bebamma from bad elements, especially in the second half of the movie. Uh, such scenes in the movie try to construct masculinity of Asi, and it seems there seems to be some kind of complicity between the audiences and the movie makers. I would like to quote Paul Willman, who talks about this aspect. The construction of Asi's masculinity reminds us, I'm quoting Paul Willman here, reminds us that filmmakers and viewers share complicity. Their films can read our desires as much as we can marshal our critical machinery to read their creations. I'll come to this point later about what kind of, I mean, what are the feelings of, what are the opinions of audiences towards such kind of portrayal in the movie later. Another important point that I noticed in the movie is contrastive picture that we draw in the movie, especially contrastive pictures of Asi and Bebamma. As you know, I mean, as you might have observed, Asi is a strong man, he's daring, he's ready to take risk, he's ready to challenge Rainam, the feudal lord in the kind of feudal lord in the coastal village. In contrast to Asi, I found out that Bebamma is portrayed as femininity personified. She is soft, vulnerable, weak, and always in want of protection in a male-dominated society. However, these contrastive pictures of both characters are resolved in the union of the two young lovers emotionally and physically. Once again, Bebamma's union with Asi, both physically and emotionally, I observed is shown in a very usual and mainstream kind of sexual imagination. A song in the background of their union, and in the middle of the sea on a small boat, their union happens, and that song sequence reminds us of a usual formula that is adopted in almost all the commercial Telugu movies. So we see throughout the movie, we see film trying to build a narration to show Bebamma's constant need of protection. That is because she feels homely with in the company of Asi. She feels very homely, comfortable, and compatible. And since she is brought up in the almost what we call in the feudal kind of family under the constant surveillance of Rainam, she is now, I mean, she always desires to be protected and loved. And Asi is the man, Asi is the person who can give her what she has missed in her life. And being a typical semi-urban college-going woman, she is always in need of love, affection, friendship, protection, etc., etc. And even Bebamma's assertion at the end of the movie, her dialogues against, or her wish to rejoin Asi, her moves against the wishes of her father, or these sequences, these scenes are also framed in such a manner that they reinforce a conventional notion of love without trying to complicate it. So we see Bebamma sacrificing her class, going back to Asi, rejoining him, and convincing him about the fact that love is not only about sex, it is more than that, it is above physical need. And he preaches him about true love and long lasting understanding between lovers, or between man and woman, or between wife and husband. So here, a film, in my view, throughout the film, there is another point that we need to notice. It tries to reassert that primarily manhood or masculinity are necessary for a man, or for a young man. But losing it is equal to losing dignity and identity. That is the point that is reproduced in the movie, as far as I am concerned. Uh, Even Asi also conducts himself like that, behaves like that, trying to reinforce the dominant notion of masculinity and manhood or manliness in the movie. If we observe him, as his genital is cut by Rayanam as a punishment for loving his daughter, since that time, Asi feels ashamed, and he's having a sense of guilty consciousness bothering him throughout. In order to address his inner tumult or inner chaos, he sacrifices love, which actually gains sympathy and admiration on the part of the audiences. That's my reading of the movie. Even Rayanam's revenge on Asi is also within the conventional notion of man's virility between his legs. Even though it is contradicted by his daughter, the daughter, that is Bebama, reinforces the conventional notion of love and understanding, or whatever. So the contradiction is yet again based on mainstream and uncomplicated notion of love, masculinity, and manhood. So I thought that the film moves with many contradictions, and it reproduces masculinity and femininity, uh, uh, even though the films tries hard to be different from other commercial movies of Telugu film industry. And audiences, in my view, given the kind of audiences, the fans, or whoever watching the Telugu movie, such Telugu movies, uh, might not be shocked at Asi's loss of manhood, because as his manliness and manhood both are well established by the movie much before he loses his private organ. Perhaps they might appreciate his heroic deeds and sacrifice. They might even sympathize with him as uh, 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 as the feudal lord, that is, Rayanam is the main cause of his humility and misery. So the audiences might sympathize with Asi, and they might become angry with Rayanam. But in between these two, we do not know what will be the reactions of, or what will be the response of the audiences towards Bebama. So in another sense, to quote Vishnupriya Bandaram, she says that the audiences, she has done wonderful work on Telugu audiences and fans and their relationship with Telugu film. So she says these kinds of audiences are habituated audiences, habituated to understand, interpret masculinity and manhood in a particular style, in a particular manner, which would once again go a long way in reinforcing, reproducing a patriarchal notion of masculinity and manhood, and once again, circulation of the patriarchal and dominant notion of manhood. Uh, that's the end of my presentation about this movie and my personal views, personal opinion, interpretation of the movie. Before I end and allow others to respond to that, I would like to show you two images of the movie, posters of the movie, which are available in website. They also try to reproduce the the notion of masculinity. Let me now share two posters with you. Yeah, this is the poster that I just downloaded and showing it to you people. Uh, if you observe this poster, what we find is Asi is shown as a macho man, full of masculinity, ruggedness can be seen, and Bebama is standing behind Asi, and she is very modest and fearful, full of trepidation, apprehension can be seen on her face. And Rayanam is full of pride, revenge, and ruthless too. Let me go to the second poster, which will also make my point clear about what I'm trying to say. Look at this poster, which is once again uh, available in website. Here,
That's not visible. You have not gone to the second poster. We can still see the first poster only.
okay, I think I have to close this first and then open that the other one, right?
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. Is it visible now?
Not yet. You have to share screen again.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay. So this poster once again shows Asi as a man full of physical strength, masculinity,
Visible.
exhibiting his manhoodness, etc. And Bebama is shown as shy, modest, very attractive, and her eyes are compared to vast, broad blue sea. Uh, I will not try to interpret it deeply. Perhaps some of you can respond to these posters and the rest of the movie. With this I think I taken more than half an hour. I'll end my, I'll stop here and would like to listen to you. I would like to listen to what others have to say about this movie. Thank you, and thank you, Nicola and others, for giving me an opportunity to address your issue.
You can stop screen sharing now. So, yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah. So thank you, Vijay, for that detailed introduction, setting up the film for us, both through the reviews that have come on the film and your own reading of the film. The film is now open for discussion.
I hope I will not be bombarded with questions because this forum is meant for discussion and debates, not for question and answer. But however, I welcome questions if there are any. But I will be very curious to know the views of the others about the movie, those who have seen it.
Yeah, anyone would like to
Nikhila?
begin? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay, for that exhaustive analysis of the film. I have a slightly different take with regard to the representation of Bebama. You have characterized her as being represented as modest and coy, but I think she's the one who makes the first move as far as physicalizing the relationship goes. We may recall that she's the one who kisses him first. So I don't think she is she's not represented as coy, certainly not. In fact, she's bold, and she's the one who actually makes the first move. And another character that was of interest as far as the narrative goes, I think, is the character of Rainam's wife, the one who is bedridden due to paralysis. So, and I think I saw a very strong undercurrent of the Electra complex, in the whole father-daughter relationship, and that is further exacerbated by the fact that the father has, a life without a sexual partner. At least in the film, we are not, given any indication of Rainam seeking sexual gratification elsewhere. So I think it is that kind of insecurity that is produced due to his own sexless life, and some kind of subterranean sentiment of jealousy or envy that his daughter is now old enough to enter into a sexual relationship with this very macho-looking man. Apart from the fact, of course, that he is lower class and lower caste. So I don't know how you would respond to this, but these are some thoughts that came to my mind when I was watching the film.
Yeah, your observations are quite valid well received. But I was also thinking that if we compare this character, Bebama's character, with I don't know whether I should make comparison or not, but I was trying to compare this character with the character in another movie, Marathi movie, Sairat, wherein she is the girl in Sairat is outspoken, and she's bold, courageous. She also rides a bullet, and she is also the one who tries to encourage the boy to fall in love her, and she is also one of the reasons that they should move away from village, run away from village, and settle down somewhere. So lots of similarities are between this movie and that movie, but at the same time, the kind of portrayal that happens in Telugu movie seem to be quite orthodoxical in terms of projecting Bebama as modest, trying to be within the framework of society, etc. So I'm not saying that the film should have, projected Bebama like this, like that, but as an audience, I was trying to look at the character from comparative perspective. So in that way, I found some sort of lacking in the portrayal of Bebama, and at the same time, portrayal of Asi as problematic. Yes, of course, I should have talked about the other character, Rayanam, and the point that you made, that I have not touched upon it much, actually.
First Sambaya and then Nishi. Nishi, in fact, discussed Sairat earlier in one of the earlier sessions. But first, Sambaya, please go ahead.
Hope it's not a question.
Sam, are you there?
You have to unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me now, guys?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah,
Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening. Thank you, Nikhila. Thank you, Boru Garu. It's wonderful to kind of listen to you. I had a talk with you earlier also on this film, but these many aspects kind of wonderful brought out various aspects for the film. Now, I just wanted to kind of, respond to your, characterization of Bebamma. I agree with Geeta Vishwanathan, who spoke before me. I think, the, I don't know, I mean, like the understanding or, the portrayal of Bebamma, understanding of the character of Bebamma is slightly not in the sense that, what you said, she's vulnerable and then, wanting to love and then, all the time, like desire to be protected and loved, all that. And then it seems to you, the way you read, this is kind of, she's a personification of feminism, feminine character, that's okay, but, vulnerability. But I see that, she's a very strong person in a way. I don't see, she as a weak person, not like a typical, girl that, they try to. I mean, I think, this, it's very interesting that, she appears to be kind of, weak, but, at the same time, she's very strong, I feel, because, see, if she's a weak character, then she would have kind of, submitted to the advances made by her, Baba, right? The, her Ata's son. But she didn't. In fact, she actually, generally it assumed that, when, male made, some kind of an advances towards a girl, the generally, it's assumed that, girls would not speak, on that, unless it's a really serious issue. But then, she keep on kind of telling to her father. That itself shows that, she's, when she doesn't want something, she doesn't mind to kind of open up her mind, like speak against it. So she would go to an extent, like, ultimate father, as a typical male patriarch, he would have been kind of the last person to go to about this issue. But then, he was the first person to go to, right? And so I don't think, she was kind of a weak character. And also, the, if you look at, the last scene, the way she knew that, now he would not be the hero cannot be a kind of, masculine, or from the, like not suitable for this married life and so on. But she wanted him. She wanted him to be her partner for life, right? And so she actually, go to the extent of like, arguing against her own father, right? Which normally, if she's a kind of a timid person, or afraid, or vulnerable, she would not have dared to do that, right? She knew that, what exactly she wanted, right? And she would go to an extent to do that, So, growing up under protection of, this, patriarchal character or father, but, she fall in love with that man, knowing the consequences, right? So she's always, maybe appears to be very timid. She always kind of, after her desire, what she wanted. He found him, obviously, it's one can kind of read it as a self-interestedness because of this macho-ness of this hero. She thought that, he would protect her, that maybe kind of self-interested. But then she's after her interests. So, and then she would not kind of mind go to any extent, to realize those interests, to achieve those interests. I mean, either in terms of like seeking, love, or in terms of like marrying that guy, wanting to be with him, and then challenging her father. I mean, trying to kind of convince her father. All that, all that shows that she's very, very strong character. Unlike I don't know. I mean, the way you read, maybe slightly, I'm not so happy. But I mean, that's your opinion. But I think one has to kind of read differently also. It is a possibility. I mean, see the other side of the picture. That's what I'm trying to say. I'll get back to you on maybe one or two aspects are there, but let others also respond. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vijay, you want to come in?
Yeah, just a brief intervention. I do admit that there are sequences in the movie which should portray Bebam as strong and taking some kind of decision, asserting her identity in front of her father, this thing. But once again, as I said in response to Gita Vishwanath's intervention, I am always forced to compare. Whenever I watch a movie, as a viewer, I would like to always compare a man's character or woman's character to other movies. So it's not just a textual analysis which actually defines my interpretation, but also some kind of reference points. So from that point of view, even though the film tries to be deviant and non-conformist with regard to question of sexuality, masculinity, and other things, somewhere I find that the other side of the movie that is trying to reinforce certain dominant notions of society. And there is another, probably it might be prejudiced on my part. I always think that Telugu film industry is somewhere very mainstream kind of movie, in the sense it tries to reinforce, it tries to reproduce a dominant patriarchal ideas. So that also worked on my interpretation of this movie. So that way, I try to admit. I do agree with you partly, and the other side of the movie is also what I presented in my presentation. So I don't know whether I clarified. I've been clear or not. Yeah.
Okay, Nishi, please go ahead.
This is not a question, just things which came to my mind as I heard Vijay speak on the film. I found the film cliched, in its depiction of the feudal kind of a setting, and as Vijay said, a very patriarchal kind of a setting. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this kind of a scenario has been exploited in quite a number of Telugu films. The only thing which, of course, I found different from the others is the whole idea of masculinity, which which comes up in the film. The rest seem to me very, very cliched. It's like, you have these lovely locales, Pada, the sea, and a time when mobile phones were no longer used, which is why people could be untraced for some time and you don't know where they are. So it kind of harks to an earlier period of time. But I found I thought there was a lot of potential in the film that was missing. You bring in the reference with Sairat, which is why I wanted to come in at this point of time. So I think where Sairat works, this film doesn't, for me, it doesn't work there. The caste issue is there. It's a love story, yes, but none of these, they move beyond the very cliched kind of thing. It's, you almost know, excepting for the masculinity bit, which of course is something absolutely, I think, new. I'm not sure if there have been other Telugu films where this has been discussed, but even the caste issue is, it's more, the film is more talking about the honor issue, right? And how that would be disrupted, which is why he goes to extreme, Raisen goes to extreme levels to kind of create the charade that his daughter is still there with an entire bus going and coming and all of that. Even that I found, very cliched. I'm sure there must have been many other Telugu films which had similar kind of tropes being used. So I was expecting, at least from the rushes of the film, I was thinking that maybe, they could do a lot. And since you bring in the reference to Sairat, and Sairat worked so very well, on various levels. And I found this particular film lacking. And I watched it, because I have time at this point of time, and which is why you get to watch a lot of films on the OTT platforms. But I really felt that, maybe there could be more. I was also reminded of Dorasani once again, where you have a cast coming in and also the honor issue. But this film, I think, mostly, the honor of the family, the honor of the father. And I like the point which Geeta made about the mother, because I think the character of the mother is a very symbolic kind of a character, because she's bedridden, she's unable to do anything, she cannot even speak. So this not being able to speak, I think, is it talks about the fact that no one else in that family, I mean, none of the women in that family um, are able to say anything or voice what they want to. I mean, this girl Bebamma does that absolutely at the end, but each time I feel that she could have said, but she's unable to do. And I think the mother figure works well there as well. Just a few thoughts about the film.
Yeah, I mean, as a
Thank you.
viewer, as I was watching Sairat, I was literally shocked to know the ending of the movie, and I found out that it's another form of honor killing. This thing. So I was also thinking on your lines, and I mean, there could have been many possibilities for a director or a producer to make this movie differently. But as viewers, we can only just view and interpret the movie as it is, perhaps making cross references to other movies. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Anyone else? As you collect your thoughts, Vijay, I would maybe come in at this point and share my response to the film. As Nishi and others were saying, the film, as I went along watching it, reminded me of a whole host of other films. So, in that sense, I did not find it, a very significant departure from the codified structures of Telugu cinema till the ending. I want to say a little bit about the ending of the film and how I understand the ending of the film. Um, if Dorasani that Nishi mentioned, or even Sairat, end with the
Color
power
Photo
being.
also. I mean,
Uh,
another movie, Color Photo. I've not watched it, but I've heard it's about
okay,
honor killing. Yeah,
yeah.
please go ahead.
I won't use the term honor killing if the balance of power or equations is heavily weighed against the young couple and is completely in favor of the father and the family, particularly the girl's father and the family. In this film, I felt what was happening was simply a sharing of losses. So a compromise in terms of what can be called as a sharing of losses. So if the father loses honor, he also gains by being by castrating Asi, and ensuring that even if his daughter, as it turns out, even if his daughter goes into a lower caste family, she will not perform the duty that is supposed to be that of a woman, which is to perpetuate the family, the lineage, and be a conduit for that caste. So to that extent, the father's loss in some ways is made good. If you look at Asi, yes, he is castrated, he loses, but he also gains Sangeeta or Bebama. So in that sense, and also gains her over the father. She has left the father to come to him, so there is a gain. And for her, if she can't have babies, she can still be with the man she loves. So it's a kind of a sharing of losses, a compromise that seems to be kind of worked out here in terms of the equations. So if the other films weigh it heavily in favor of the father, here it seems to be somewhat in this pattern. The second aspect, I want to respond to what you were saying with regard to masculinity and I too, yes, the film kind of disentangles sex, gender, and sexuality to some extent by saying that the biological body, or at least some part of that biological body, is not necessarily the basis of defining masculinity, because something else, as you said, is doing that task, and is also not necessarily defining sexuality, because she still feels her body break into sweat when she sits next to him. So to the extent that it undercuts the biological basis of gender and sexuality, yeah, it seems interesting. But what it seems to be, it seems to run into the same kind of issues that, for instance, the Malayalam film, I think you're familiar with it, 22 Female Kottayam, and this whole issue regarding castration. So, what is the issue? The issue is not so much the presence or absence of the male sexual organ as much as the sense of entitlement. The sense that he can possess, or even through his gaze, uh, through the entire sequence of the introduction in the beginning, where Sangita or Bebama is set up for us. It's all through his entitled male gaze, which is kind of possessing, her through his gaze. So the codes of masculinity are well set in place in this film before this kind of this little blip, if one wants to call it that, happens in an otherwise cliched narrative, I would think. I'll stop here. If anyone else wants to respond, you're welcome. Or Vijay, if you want to respond, you're welcome.
No, I'll wait for the others' response. Actually, I'm more curious to know on what others think.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yes,
I'll come in.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was just wondering who was.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
is a
please
slightly
go.
unfamiliar
Yes.
self
Yeah.
today.
Yes.
I sort of continue from where you had left off, Nikhila, because I found it most interesting your views of the use of the term absence and presence. I think that's one of the major points of the film is absence in presence and presence in absence. Because the film begins with that. There is no Bebamma, but the whole village, the bus, the college, everyone is designed to feel, that it exists, And the same absence presence, let us say, trope is about male sexuality. So there are lots of ironies in the film, some of it intended and quite a lot of it unintended, in the sense that what the message, if I can call it that, is that masculinity has got nothing to do with the absence or the presence of the male sexual apparatus, but that is precisely the way in which Asi is presented as a man from the very beginning. I mean, there's something very, very sexual about the way in which he demonstrates his macho-ness, if there is a word like that, from the way he twirls his mustaches, from the way his sinews are supposed to be, rippling in slow motion while he walks to demolish his enemies. All that is there. And although we begin with the fact is that even the notion of fulfilled love, which one may call marriage, even that is kind of denied in the very beginning, that love has all kinds of impossible possibilities. It can die out in the shape of marriage. That is what he is also saying, that if it ends in the begetting of children, then there is no love. I don't know what kind of love. Is it only the love which remains unfulfilled? Is the love which is being, so there is a lot of confusion, and the Also, the fact the absence presence, the father, Vijay Sethupathi, I think his name is the artist. Um, I found it very intriguing that they needed to borrow somebody else's voice in order to give him that kind of menacing presence every time he enters in this thing. So what is it that we are talking about, that if his maleness is dependent upon his idea, his notion of honor, the whole thing very cliched, in the sense that the um, Asi's father, Jalapa, I think his name is, and he tries to demolish this whole false sense of superiority, which sort of arises out of one's higher caste or social position, by saying that what are you talking about? Your daughter spent the whole night with my lower caste son, and that is the only time when this rather submissive old man is shown to have any spark of anger in him, So we find that certain notions which are supposedly revolutionary are attempted to be created here, but in order to create them, we are using the same tropes which have been used time and again. So it leads to a kind of a confused, feeling throughout the film. I'll even see the fact is that that he's a Christian. I mean, we find out from very casually, from the way that when he's going away from home, he says, "No, read to me from the Bible," and all that. And then there is the padri who sort of conducts a session, and the girl is obviously from a high caste Hindu family, and their love is kind of being celebrated by the singing of songs of love in a Sufi shrine, in the shrine of a Sufi saint, which is in Hindi, which is in Urdu. So a kind of universality, a kind of universalism is being attempted here. And that is the reason why it would have been perfectly understandable for them to run away 2 villages away. We show them traversing the whole length and breadth of India and ending up in Gangtok, for God's sake. I mean, the only plus point there that I found was our coming, getting a glimpse of a railway station, which I think Geeta may have come across, from her stay in Shiliguri. There's this place called Shevok. It's a most intriguing railway station that I have come across. It is near in the Darjeeling Alipurduar section, and so it is a kind of one nation, one love, one people, one religion idea, kind of an idea which is being created here, or he's trying to create that kind of an idea, but it doesn't always work. But at some levels, it works wonderfully. At the usual levels in which we understand caste distinctions, the uneven, the repressive nature of feudal societies are very, very. We have grown up knowing about these things, and they are kind of reinforced here. And visually, sometimes the film is beautiful. I mean, if we were to think that there can be two kinds of artistic style, one being the linear, the other being the painterly, his choice of Kakinada as a location, it ensures that there is a lot of the sea, there's a lot of the untamed beaches all around. So there is a kind of a lyricalness, lyricism, which is there in the very visuals that are being created, and the lilting chant of the fishermen, and all that is sort of adds to it. And from painterly, the style becomes linear, as it were, as he leaves the familiar surroundings of the village that they've grown in and goes through Odisha and West Bengal. We see a bit of the Howrah Bridge, and then finally we end up in Gangtok, where it ends. Was it necessary? I don't know. But the fact is that we get an idea of this wonderful country where all kinds of people would be living much more comfortably and happily if they gave in or understood the idea of pure love, which has nothing to do with masculinity. This is, and also I was, there's the literalness of the movie is something I felt is unnecessary. There was this whole thing about, displaying the, the male sexual organs. So what if it was a zoology class? But I was terribly impressed with the teacher. I mean, a teacher of zoology coming up with, with the beautiful notions of symbolically what actually is masculinism was wonderful. And the fact is, the very portrait of the broken Shiva would have been enough, The fact that it stands for protection, it stands for love, it stands for masculinity. So what if it is, not complete as it were, but the old man having to explain all that step by step to his young granddaughter or whatever, it was, I think, quite unnecessary. And the fact that he does a whole lot of things, sometimes necessarily, sometimes unnecessarily, the fact that he gives Asi a stammer and his Kalimpu or whatever his name is, his sidekick all the time, he's got only one functioning eye, or at least which looks to be functional. So they're all incomplete in one sense or the other. And the only thing which completes them is the sense of masculinity, which itself the film is trying to demolish, So I really don't know what to make of it. That's all. Thank you.
One of the reasons, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Not a brief intervention. No, one of the reasons why I chose this movie is to is the fact that at first instance, I found it very different from the other commercial movies of Telugu film industry. But later on, when I thought about it deeply after reading reviews of the movie in newspapers and websites, I thought these newspaper reviews and website reviews are missing. They're trying to highlight one point at the cost of other things. Of course, we cannot expect too much from such reviews, but these reviews are also very important for us because they give some kind of impression on the readers, and they will have enormous amount of influence on the readers the viewers who would like to watch a particular movie because they found the reviews are very good about the movie. So these film reviews are also very important for us to consider, understand as part of the movie. Other responses, I'll be very curious to know.
Yeah, anyone else?
Nikhila?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Looking at from a caste and then annihilation of caste perspective, I think the idea of the fusion of blood only destroys the caste. I think that way, in the caste society, like ours, however one can kind of it's essentially, what I'm trying to say that, it's essentially love that, becomes a matter at the end of the day. And, love conquers. And I think I really like that idea, because it's through love, because of her love, she kind of if the hierarchy, and then she came down to this man, and then despite knowing that he cannot be a kind of a man in quote unquote that way, but still she wants, she loves him so much, so ultimately, I think love is one aspect of discussion here. Also, I really like this guy's, Vijay Sethupath's, characterization, father figure. It's a sort of, keeping aside this, the voice and then other stuff. But, the portrayal is a genuine way of, portraying, it also tells us like, how the dominant communities in coastal Andhra Pradesh, like, make the riches. This guy, destroying all the house stuff, those, fisher folks, and then wanting to kind of, build that, shipyard. So it's, by forcing them away or, occupying their lands, that is how, lot of the dominant communities, like, who make riches, like even if you look at the current chief minister of Andhra Pradesh, Jagan Mohan Reddy, his father, his grandfather was occupied in a whole 1500 or 1,000 or 1,500 acres of whole valley, that Pulivendula, where their house is there. The entire belt is kind of belong to them. 1,500 acres of land. So that's how in a way, it tells us a little bit of history also, through these characterizations. I think I really like that film, for various reasons, that it try to kind of portray the earlier, when growing up in a village like Guntur, small town, not from a Guntur, that caste Hindus, whatever their caste, actually, like going to dargahs, and then wouldn't mind kind of going to this, even the churches also, and then Hindu temples, like we both Christians, that time, unlike now, where complete segregation, Muslims actually coming to Hindu temples, you won't see, but then you would see that that time, Muslims coming to Hindu temples, churches, or or Hindus going to church temples, and then Hindus going to dargahs, and then churches, kind of a very common phenomenon there. In a way, that way, through portrayal of Andhra Pradesh of some 30 years ago, or 20 years ago. Thank you. Just a comment, nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Anyone else? Anyone else would like to come in now? Please unmute yourselves.
Yeah, I would like to say something about this Mother Teresa's portrait in the girl's father's house, in his room, right? So I think that was quite an interesting depiction. There's just at the side, right? Because he's talking about British power and how the British respected them and kept the shoes outside the house and all those kind of things, right? And so where are they placed with the question of the colonial, right, and the caste hegemony and the colonial hegemony, all those things build up. But then what is this Mother Teresa's thing doing over there when his values are absolutely feudal and patriarchal, right?
Vijay, would you like to respond? No?
I unmuted actually. No, I don't have any response. I just want to curious to know the other responses. So I would like to listen to the others.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just like to come in and
Yeah, sure.
on Rajan's comment. I think what it does is very simple. That fact of Mother Teresa's portrait being there in the house, although the father shows none of the values which that lady is supposed to have stood for. But the fact is that we can probably understand that this little girl had grown up with that picture, in the presence of Mother Teresa in her life from a very early age. That is why they find, let us say, shelter for some time in working for, Mother Teresa's ashram in Calcutta. So, because she's already familiar to what this lady stands for. And that is something which is established through that portrait in the father's house. I think that could be one explanation.
Yeah. Anyone else? Sanjay?
Yeah,
Yeah, please go ahead.
coming back to that comparison between Sairat and this film, as far as the main the girl is concerned, the protagonist is concerned. So I agree with Geeta that she has been presented as a bold character. There is no doubt about that. But the way the femininity has been constructed in the film Sairat is different from this film, because in the film Sairat they are showing the girl, you know, that she can do what a boy can do. That she can drive a tractor, she can ride a bike, she can also handle the pistol. Otherwise, there are so many things which are similar. For example, she can also come out of her house and go with the boy she likes. And so there is a lot of courage in this girl also uh, in the film Upena. The only difference is that there the femininity is constructed as, you know, something which is like similar to the masculinity, you know, something which can be equal to, in the sense equal to the earlier kind of feminism, the kind of feminism of Simone de Beauvoir. Here it is the kind of femininity which is with a difference in the feminine sensibility, the kind of the kind of femininity proposed by Louis Irigaray or Ellen Sixu. So here a woman is different and she has a different feminine sensibility, but in the sense that uh, she has all the courage. She is not like a coy figure, like Geeta was saying, obviously, uh, but she doesn't have to be. She doesn't have to just do everything what a boy does. Okay, in any sense, here a lot of glorification of macho figure is there. There is no doubt about that. Other than that, what another important point which I found in this film is the way this Rayanam handles the situation. Rayanam, at a point of time when finally when finally Sangeeta escapes and he is not able to control the critical situation, the crisis has gone out of control. Now what is left is to control the narrative. I'm also referring to the present situation in India. When the crisis goes out of control, you control the narrative. what this Rayanam is doing basically, that he is trying to create an illusion that his daughter is still there. So initially when we see him, you know, in the scene when he is talking to a non-existent daughter, we get the impression that probably he's a paranoiac, he is a kind of pathological figure, you know, he's mad. That kind of impression we get. And when this revenue officer is watching behind the doors, we get this kind of impression. And then he is also, you know, coming out and hitting this man. And this man, the revenue officer, is finally saved only by saying that he belongs to the same caste. So that is the only thing which can save him from Rayanam. But what is interesting is that this person, Rayanam, has not only created a world of make-believe for himself, but he has made the people, you know, by his world of make-believe, by his narrative, the whole village, you know, starting from his family itself, when he says at 7 o'clock that, you know, the girl should leave, so the lunch should be ready, bag should be ready, slippers are there, and the car leaves there. You know, then there is one also, we find two mates, they are talking to each other saying that Bebamma is very nice, no, she has given me some money, like that. Then there are two boys who are on the bike and they try to follow Bebamma. Obviously Bebamma is not inside, but they don't know, and the whole village believes it. In the stationery shop also, that Govindu comes out and then he buys some stationery item, notebook. So finally, what he does as a tyrannic, as an authoritarian personality, this Rayanam, that he controls the narrative. If you can't control the crisis, just control the narrative. So as a desperate measure, he is doing that. And that is very much manifested in this film. And I like that one. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was so interesting. Vijay, you want to respond?
Not a response to Sanjeev, but I was also thinking about the narrative structure of the movie, which compels a certain kind of plot sequences within the movie. So I was just have a stray thoughts about that. Perhaps we need to understand why this kind of narrative structure is constructed by the filmmaker in this movie in comparison with other narrative structures in other movies. Perhaps this will also take us to understand the sensibility with which the films are made by the filmmakers. That's also very important for us because in the given context of Telugu film industry, these kinds of movies seem to be deviant, non-conformist, but at the same time, when on a close reading, we come to know that such movies end up doing nothing except, reinforcing certain dominant notions of patriarchy and other things. So perhaps compared to study of movies could have been more interesting also if I had made that. Anyway, yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to add actually that there, what I wanted to say is that initially we get that impression that he is mad, but then later on we find that he has planned everything, that he announces in the family that we have to do like this. Even he tells his own sister also that you go and tell people that there is, stars are not in the propitious situation, so we can't marry. So all those astrological reasons you can give for not marrying right now. So finally we come to realize that it is not that this figure is a pathological figure, but the normal itself is pathological. That there is a method in madness. That it is not madness which is ruling, but there is a method in madness.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Anyone else? Somebody has unmuted, is it? Yeah, Nishi, please go ahead. Nishi and then
I was just thinking, when he's talking about controlling the narrative, I also think that is just reinforcing patriarchy. That is what Raisam is doing throughout, reinforcing just patriarchy. Right. He's just, and I think the reason why people buy into the narrative that he offers is because they are scared of him, because he is an authority figure, he has power and he has money, and also he belongs to that caste which has dominated that particular area. So just a few thoughts.
Tarakeshwar, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. What was refreshing for me in this film was what Sambhai also pointed out, that the representation of the coastal Andhra. Otherwise, in Telugu films, the way we see coastal Andhra is all are Ram Bhakts and there is a happy village and things like that. But here, especially in terms of its religious characteristics, this coastal Andhra is quite different. So there is a Christianity and there is Islam, Sufi culture, and then also fisherman's life. So in that sense, it was refreshing in Telugu cinema, this kind of a coastal Andhra representation. But apart from that, though the background in which this love story is set raises issues of caste, class, gender, and sexuality in a very muted way, not in a frontal way. Yes, the sexual organ becomes the main focus, but not the sexuality. The question of sexuality is muted in the entire narrative. But the caste, class, and gender issue are in the background. They're raised, but the narrative does not resolve any of these issues, nor it is interested in resolving it. So that is more interesting. So the issues are there in the background, but the narrative does not focus them, nor it is interested in resolving it. And why is a different issue? Because it's a mainstream cinema, so it becomes a kind of love story, but a love story where there is again reinforcement of the general masculinity, caste, class, everything is there. So nothing is questioned or resolved. So, but there are in the background. So what I would feel is that the phallocentrism is there even at the end of the narrative. So it doesn't go away. So it's a phallocentrism without a phallus. So phallus is not necessary for phallocentrism, is something that comes out of this narrative. So, and the kind of oppressive structure that is there in that coastal Andhra is not simply caste, class, and gender thing, but is also the state. Both the legislator and bureaucracy are controlled by Raisam. So they are subservient team. So in that sense, it's quite oppressive, and the absence of state completely, or surrender of the state to the local power structure is something that is visible there. And it is not questioned, even at the end of the narrative. And the successful love story is not questioning any of these things, because it ends in such a way that phallus is not necessary for a phallocentric society. That's what I would say. The only refreshing thing is the representation of the coastal Andhra, which is quite different from the other Telugu films which are set in the coastal Andhra.
In other words, the crisis between the young lovers, I mean, the entire question of caste, gender, and class, and feudal kind of setting in village, and various other problems are reduced to the love crisis between these two young, the Asi and Devamma. So the film ends with that kind of personal note, even though the problems that bothered them were very much impersonal. That's what I thought about. I thought while Tarkeshwar was mentioning the question of caste, gender, and class.
Could I just ask? I'm not sure who can answer this, but Vijay, you did refer to reviews of the film in First Post and other places. These were the ones which even I had read. But I was just wondering, what kind of reviews did the Telugu magazines or the newspapers? What did they say about the film?
I can't read Telugu, so I went through only English reviews of the movie, First Post and Times of India. But I would be very curious to know about the Telugu newspaper reviews of this movie.
Yeah, maybe Sridhar, Sambaya, Suresh Golle, anyone who has read the Telugu reviews who would like to respond?
Yeah, sorry, ma'am. I couldn't read the Telugu newspaper because I'm outside the Hyderabad. So I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I heard this movie is also being remade in Tamil and Hindi also. I'm not sure about Hindi, but it's also being remade in Tamil. That's what I read in newspaper. So probably that is the result of, because the film was a bit popular and it was a box office hit, that's why it is being made in Tamil. That's also an important point for me to consider this movie for my presentation.
No, it
Yeah,
was a box office
Tarakeshwar,
hit.
yeah, go
No,
ahead. Because
No, it is a box office hit in Telugu. And the very fact that Vijay Sethupathi is casted in this movie, I'm sure that it is already made in Tamil. So it had an eye on the Tamil market. That's why Vijay Sethupathi is there, though he doesn't know Telugu. So, and then getting, I don't know whether it is remade in India or not, but most of the Telugu and Tamil, even Kannada movies are dubbed into Hindi nowadays. So in that sense, the market is there and they're catering to the market. It not necessarily because of the success of the thematic success of the movie. So the market is there, and they while making the movie itself, they have an eye on dubbed version in Hindi, and then they multilingual versions. That's why I think Vijay Sethupathi is drawn into the film.
yeah, Sambaya, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So just Tara, the point about this multilingual, multi language releases and so on. You see, that's a very interesting point that you mentioned. Actually, in the while making the film itself, they draw rope in, artists, from different languages. For example, like Allu Arjun's film, you would see that villains are supporting characters. You see Malayali actors. Similarly in Telugu films also, the other Telugu films, like they also involve some of Tamilians and so on. So they knew that they have this in the market, and so while making itself, they draw in other artists. I think that's a kind of commercial strategy anyway. But Tara, I have one point that I'm in response to what you said, that caste, class, gender, that narrative, that's issues are kind of there in the background, but this narrative is not interested in resolving any of these issues. I didn't understand that, but I thought this caste question. I mean, I know, like at the end, I thought this caste, class, gender issues have been resolved, right? The union of this couple, that itself, I mean, that shows that these issues have been resolved, isn't it? I don't know. Just I thought, yeah. Go ahead,
Caste issue or gender issue or class issue are not simply the issue of union of these two people. That itself is a problematic thing. See, caste is a structural issue, class is a structural issue, gender is a structural issue. How in the society masculinity and femininity are produced and in what relation they exist is the question of gender. Similarly, the relationship between various communities, various caste communities, is the question of caste. Unless the structure, the relationship between the communities change, I don't think the caste gets resolved. So there is nothing in the narrative to indicate that there is any change in the relationship between the communities. So it's only the individual from different communities get united. It doesn't become symbolic of the destroying of the boundaries of those communities too. So in that sense, there is no resolving of these issues. But these issues are raised. What are the hurdles for the union of these two couples are these. But without resolving those things, these two get united at the end.
In other words, the entire film gives a thrust on these issues, but at the end of the movie, it is reduced to relationship between Asi and Debamma. So in that way,
I wouldn't say that. See, the movie from the beginning, if you look at the narrative, it is about the question of whether sexual organ is necessary for masculinity or not. So from that opening, the college scene where the biology teacher is teaching, so that is set up there. And why that scene comes there. It is not just to titillate what happens in the girls' college, how girls respond to the issue of reproductive organ. I thought that, but at the end, when the issue came back, so it was very clear the structure of the narrative is that. So the other issues are in the background. They never come to the forefront, but they are simmering in the background, and they remain there because they don't come to the front of the narrative. They are not resolved.
Would anyone else want to come in? Anki?
Nikhila,
Yeah, Sridhar, go ahead.
sorry, I lost somewhere, so I could not join on time. Thanks for reminding. So, see, I was trying to connect to what could have Vijay told about the movie. So, I was trying to connect the knots. So, maybe see the way. It's a distinct one, distinct or different narrative from the regular movies, or the problematizing body talk. It's more than gender; they're body talk only. Gender relationships or sexuality. This is more of body talk, and there are movies.
You have to unmute, I think. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So what I meant to say that, see, the difference or the exceptionalism that is a background of this discussion is actually very common in the news also. So we come across many times newspapers also that whenever these kind of issues come in intercaste relationships, the male sex organ is cut. So, so that is a body talk, but I don't think it's a new thing. It is there very much in the practices of society. So, but here the director takes it in a Platonic platform. So, naturalizing whatever the discourse that film tries to develop, see, in a classroom situation, one logic is given. It is not that the organ between the legs is important. It is the maleness is something else. But that is there only. When it comes to film reviews and all, it's one more actor, seventh actor from this Chiranjeevi family, this hero. So to highlight him, to project him as a star, lots of maybe paid journalists or whatever it is, or the many variety of campaigning is done. Whole his family entered into the broadcasting, film circulation. The entire family, the Sallu family and the Chiranjeevi family, both came in and the campaign for this movie. So in that context, reviewers may not be coming out straightforwardly. But one more thing puzzles me is that when you deal about body talk, it is more prevalent when it comes to women, and one can even get the question that, am I that person, or am I that name, whatever they call. So in this context also, there was there are stray news we have, there are news stories we have, but it is not entered into the writing world. The body talk about male. So I cannot imagine any emancipatory or any any attributes to it of potential imagination, but only whatever hype it got because of the stardom, star cast, and a promotion to the 7th star of the family. And here also, unlike just like the Bollywood movies and the Telugu movies, almost all, they give men as a rescuer when the men, women have to depend on men. That kind of hint only they give. They did not break that whatever that frame is there. So it whether man is a man or not, if it is a male enough, that kind of thing, a kind of a very, very direct, dangerous thing is involved in it. That much only I could see. But I don't know what Vijay have told. I missed it, sorry.
Vijay, you want to respond?
No, I don't have any response.
Okay.
It's others should come in and speak more so that I can learn.
Okay. Anyone else? Anki? Any response? Yes. Okay. Okay. Fine. Shilpa, Sharmila, any response? Okay. If there are no more responses, then let me thank Vijay for initiating this interesting discussion via this film. Thank you, Vijay, and thank you all for participating in this discussion. We meet again next Saturday with another interesting film, and hope you'll all be able to join us next Saturday at 9 p.m. So keep safe and good night. Bye.
Just few words.
Thank you, Vijay.
Right.
Good night,
Thanks a
everyone.
lot.
Thank you very much.
for,
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you. Good night,
giving me an
everyone.
opportunity
Yeah.
to address you and say something about the movie, share my views with you. And it was nice listening to all of you. Thanks a lot and good night.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Good night. Good night. Bye.
Thank you very much.